Welcome friends, here's a good question. Can you find this value? No calculator. So you have this root of 1999 times 2000 times 2001 times 2002 plus 1. Well, let's think about this. We're going to see perhaps that algebra is more useful than just arithmetic here. So here is the question, right? This quantity, how do we find it? So we should assume that, what do we know? Well, we know that if you have an expression like this, and this expression is squared, then what it comes out as from the root symbol is just the expression in absolute value, okay, which might be easier to evaluate, for example. Okay, so how do we make that apply here? Well, if you set n equal to 2000, then look what happens. You're going to have n minus 1 for 1999, so that's n minus 1, right? Then you're going to have n itself, then you're going to have n plus 1, then you're going to have n plus 2, and then you're going to have plus 1 at the very end. Okay, so like 2002 is n plus 2. But then you can multiply this out. So however you choose to do that, maybe you do the n minus 1 times the n plus 1, that's the difference of squares, however you think about it. So you're going to have n squared minus 1 times n plus 2 plus 1. I just multiplied n minus 1 by n plus 2, n plus 1 rather. Now distribute the n, so it's going to be n cubed minus n, multiplying this n plus 2 plus 1. Multiply out, so n to the 4th plus 2n cubed minus n squared minus 2n plus 1. Now it's multiplied out. Okay, now we have this expression. Again, it's not an expression that is squared, whose root can be taken easily, so its value is limited. We need to somehow recreate it. So we're going to do n to the 4th plus n cubed and then minus n squared. Out of each of these, we can factor an n squared out. That's why we want to write it this way. Then you're going to do plus n cubed plus another n squared. But notice that we have negative n squared appearing there only once, right? We don't have a positive n squared anywhere, so we'll have to cancel it eventually. And then minus n. So we have negative 2n. That means if I take one of them out, I will have one left over. We have positive 2n cubed. I put one here, and I put one here, you see? I'm introducing a positive n squared not present in this step, so that very likely tells you at the next stage I have to cancel this negative n squared. So this n squared cancels with this negative n squared. So we don't have too many, and then the negative n squared is only one of them right here, see? Okay. Next one will be then a minus n, which is allowed because remember, we have negative 2n. You can break that up into a negative n and another negative n, and then we have plus 1 at the end. So we haven't really changed anything. That's important to understand. Now, out of all these, we can factor an n squared out. And out of these, we can factor an n out, and then an n right here. Okay, and then out of these, well, we can factor a negative 1 out. So when you do that, you're going to have n, let's see, n squared. What's left over then is n squared plus n minus 1. Factor an n out of the other one, so you'll have an n, and then n squared plus n minus 1. And factor a negative 1 out, what you'll have is n squared plus n minus 1 also. That's good. Now, just put the n squared plus n minus 1 all the way on the outside. And you regroup, so you're going to have n squared plus n minus 1 multiplying n squared plus n minus 1. But that's perfect because now what we have is, look, n squared plus n minus 1 and squared this way, which is what we want. Because now, going back to here, and for the sake of simplicity, don't even worry about the absolute value bars. We'll just keep it as shown. Just pop it out without the absolute value bars. You will have n squared plus n minus 1. But that's much easier to evaluate, right? Because n is 2000. Look, you will have 2000 squared plus 2000 minus 1, so that's 4 million plus 2000 minus 1. So this is now 4 million like this. All right, subtract the 1, which is then this right here, and that's the value. No calculator required. And in this case, the algebra, these steps are super essential, right, towards being able to find the value. Friends, if you like videos like this, please be sure to leave a like. Check out the other videos on this channel. I'll see you in another one. My name is Tom.